Congratulations, you're at the final English paper number 2. Most students have already given up, so the fact that you're watching this means you're going to do well. De-stress. This is going to make you feel confident for tomorrow. Number 1, choose the right order for you to do the question in. If your mocks have gone well, then you know you already have the right order. I'm going to tell you what my preferred order is, but please disagree with it if it hasn't worked for you or if you've got one that works better. But if you haven't got the marks that you want in your mocks, then this is the order to consider. Do question 5 first, because it's 50% of the marks and you don't want to be running out of energy at the end of the exam when so many marks are on offer. Then I do question 3 first, because that's on just one source. That means I don't have to keep comparing one source to the other. Mentally, that's much easier to do, and I can bag those marks more easily. Question 4 is worth more marks, but because it's on 2 sources, that's actually going to take me a lot more time to do. But if I do it after I've done question 3, suddenly question 4 is much easier, because again I'm only looking at one source. I don't really remember the other source from question 3. Then I'm going to do question 2, because it's not worth as many marks as question 4. And then I'm going to do question 1 last, because even if I run out of time and never even did question 1, that probably wouldn't even affect my grade. That's how little marks it's worth. And of course the other thing is, those 4 marks are just giveaways. The average score is about 3.9 on question 1. So the dumbest person in your school is still going to score 3 out of 4 marks there if they actually do the question. So rather than spending 4 minutes on that question, you can probably get full marks spending 1 minute on it, and you'll be able to cram that in at the end. So that's why I do it last. Do not change an order that's working. Right, for this paper, just the same as paper 1, in questions 4, 3 and 2, the marks awarded are the same as the number of explanations that you write. If this news is new to you, do not panic. Do whatever your teacher has taught you about the number of paragraphs to write or the number of comparisons to write. Just follow that advice. However, if you want full marks or a really top mark, this is the easiest way to get it. The more times you say, this implies, this suggests, this reveals, each of those gives you an explanation, the more marks you get. So it's actually really easy to go into this exam and think, so the more I write, the more marks I'm going to get. Yes. Won't the examiner take marks away from me if I write something that's wrong? No, they don't. They just ignore anything that's wrong. Oh, well, what about the quality of what I say? Well, the quality of what you say is, have you come up with a good idea after this implies, this suggests, this reveals? Yeah, I have. Brilliant. Mark. Yeah, so the more of those you write, the more marks you get. Simple. Really simple as that. Okay, the big one, question 5. What most students don't realise with question 5 is this isn't just a test of persuasive writing techniques. The first job of the writing is to write an argument. They will give you a blog, or a speech, or a letter, or an article, yada yada yada. That's all gibberish. They're all exactly the same according to the mark scheme. So you don't get any marks for the layout or the headline or for subheadings or anything of those text types are not marked. So what is marked? What is marked is how well you structure your argument. If you're writing a blog about something, the argument has to be structured. If you're writing a letter about something, the argument has to be structured. It's exactly the same. This should liberate you, but it should also mean that your planning becomes much more effective, because you're just going to write down your best points in the best order in order to convince somebody. So here's a tip for always having really good points. You've got to think about the long term, and I'm going to suggest that you need to talk about tomorrow and 10 years time and 30 years time. So let's imagine the question is about the effects of social media on teenagers and young adults. Well, it's going to be quite easy for you to write about the effects of social media on your own life. What effect does TikTok have on you? About Instagram? What about the mental health implications of seeing all these models of perfection continually projected at you through your phone with its beeping and notifications to try and grab your attention? But what will that do to you in 10 years' time? What kind of parent will you grow up to be? Will you actually talk to your children, or will you be continually distracted because you're staring at your phone? Now, what will then happen in 30 years' time if these children in 10 years' time are brought up without engaged parents? What mental health issues will we see? What rise in crime and drug abuse? See, you just take things to logical extremes at these kinds of gaps. Does it have to be exactly 10 years and 30 years? No, it doesn't. But this is just a way to force you to get beyond thinking about tomorrow, because 100% of students will think about then, 10% of students will think about then, and 2% of students will think about then. If you are thinking about all three, you'll be in the top 1% of students. So even if you write quite badly, you're automatically guaranteed a grade 7. How can I be confident of that? Because you are being marked on the best points in the right order, the quality of your argument. And you can't write a bad argument if you're doing this. So it's very easy to do. Practice it mentally with a few past questions. My prediction for this year is that it will be on celebrity or social media. It's going to be a media influence on young people. I will link a grade 9 essay in the description based on that prediction. There's probably a 20% chance that will come up, so it's not massive. Right, in question 5, you're also marked on the quality of your writing. I'm not going to teach you all the persuasive techniques you already know, but I'm going to show you one that is super adaptable to every question, and that is having a cultural figure. So I've taken Elon Musk, I've learnt loads of stuff about him, and therefore I know that I can use stuff about Elon Musk in any exam question. When I sat the exam in November along with the retakes, I actually didn't use Elon Musk, but I did use Steve Jobs, Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg all on the same page, because I know that I'll be able to twist whatever I know about these cultural icons, these cultural figures, to fit the question. That is an easy way to make your argument more convincing and more relevant to an adult reader. Number 6, pick a persona. And what I mean by that is, when you're writing, try not to write as yourself. Even if the question says you're writing for a teenage magazine. I can't believe it would say that, but don't just write in the voice of a teenager. Write in the voice of a sassy adult, because that will force you to use the right vocabulary to get the right marks. I say sassy because occasionally you're going to use colloquial language to reinforce your point, but that only works if everything else is formal. So inventing a kind of adult persona whose perspective you're going to use to write is going to get you a higher grade. Number 7, that really important advice. Don't change anything that is already working. Now, you probably know what I haven't written down here, but has been in every other video that I've made before the beginning of each exam. Write as fast as you can, because the faster you write, the more points you make, and points make prizes. The spatula is coming for you if you don't. The video coming up next is one where I show you exactly how to use Mr. Elon Musk for question 5.